Press play on the Inside Sales Show.
Powered by the Sales IQ Network.
My name is Darryl. I'm your host, and you, my friend, you and I, we're going to go on a journey every single week talking to the industry's most accomplished sales legends as they share with us their tips, their tricks, their techniques, and their tactics to become sales rock stars. You simply need to do what they're doing, and you will achieve similar nirvana. If you like to laugh, you like to be entertained, if you like to go off on tangents and tell stories, you're going to love what you're going to hear next. Sit back, relax, it's going to get real. How's everybody doing today, folks? It's another freaking great day. That's right. It's not just a good day. It's a freaking great day. I'm looking outside. The sky is blue. It's sunny. The trees are waving in the wind. There's green. Now, you know, in Canada, where I'm based, like our summer season is very, very short, and it's like very, very hot. So I have to savor these moments of awesomeness. So that's I'm just in a good mood. It's put me in a good mood. I hope you're in a good mood too. Where you're at today? Gotta ask you. Are you out running? Are you driving the car? Are you out for a walk? Are you at the gym? What is it you're doing? Because I would suggest that many of those activities, like for example, let's say you were out running, listening to this podcast. Let's say you're at the gym. Let's say you're like me and you listen to your podcast while cutting the grass. I listen to them everywhere, but cutting the grass is one of them. I put on I got my Bose noise canceling headphones. I put on the muffs, put on my baseball cap, which is the only time I ever seem to wear a baseball cap because this head does not look pretty in a baseball cap. I just want you to know that I am not that guy who can pull off a baseball cap. But it's blocking the sun. And I listen to my podcast, and every one of those things, what I'm being, there's going to be a theme today. Ready? I'm going to get into it right away. Normally, I like to tease you and torment you, but the theme is going to be, I'm being proactive. I'm being proactive about my health. I'm being proactive about my lawn care. Although my neighbors might argue I need to be more proactive about my lawn care, but that's a whole different conversation. We had a conversation recently with James Buckley, where he was being reactive, which then segued to proactive, because if you recall in that episode, he'd been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So then he had to react to that. And how was he going to respond? And then he took the initiative and got working out and doing the gym thing. And 6 months later, he is now pre-type 2 diabetes and on his way to, wondrous things. So he took control of a situation that I think James would not argue that perhaps he allowed to happen. And on that one, I shared how I'm overweight and I've allowed that to happen. That's the thing. When we look at our lives, when we look at our decisions on a day-to-day basis, when we look at our jobs, we have all these mini decisions, right? Am I going to take lunch now or not? Am I going to open this email now or not? Am I going to respond to this troll on LinkedIn or not? So we're either reactive or we're proactive. And what's really interesting is your approach to how you are choosing to tackle these daily decisions has a direct impact on your success, on your well-being, on your mental health, on your success, as you may define it, whether that be career, income, happiness, whatever. Give you another example. I'm laughing because I used to be reactive when it came to my wife. Oh, sugar, today's her birthday. I don't have a card or a gift. I should go get something. And then I learned over the years, my life got better because she would know. She would wake up, right? It's my birthday. And then she would say, I got to go, honey. And she would know I'm running to the store to get something. She could figure that out. And that just didn't look good. So I started to figure out that if I was proactive, so if she said something, I really want, I'm really sore today. I need a massage. And she makes the comment in passing. Take note of that, write it down, massage. And then a couple of days later, go buy a massage. When the birthday comes around a week later, boom, it's gone. And then she got a massage, right? So my life was less stressful. And she thought I was far more in tune and with what she wanted, and she thought I was an active listener, and she valued that more, and our relationship got better. Whew. All of this is about how you make decisions that are affecting your life. Let me ask you this, guys. Every single day, how many times a day do you get a phone call coming? You look at your phone and you see the number coming in, or you get an email, or you get a Slack or a Teams message, and as soon as you see the number or you see the name come in or go bold indicating there's a new message there, you've not even opened it. You've not answered the phone. You've just seen that, boom, this person has reached out to you. You start freaking out a little bit because you're like, I know what this is about. Son of a bitch. I don't want to deal with this right now. Right? I do it all the time, which is ironic because one of the things I mentor my staff, and I have for years, and this is something I do all the time, is I get very proactive about setting expectations, about communicating up and communicating down, because about making sure there's a paper trail of our decisions in case there's any blowback in the future about these decisions and who did what. Those are some examples of areas where I've gotten proactive to protect myself and to make sure that everybody's aligned. And when I've done that, it's been huge. When you're in sales, you have an interesting kind of three-legged stool. You've got on leg number one, you and your success. You've got on leg number two, your boss, your employer, and how you interact with them and how they view you and how they nurture and grow you or get rid of you. And you got on leg number three, your customers, your prospects you're dealing with and how they rely upon you and they need to negotiate with you and they need to get information from you and they need to trust you. This three-legged stool is proportionately comfortable or uncomfortable based on how proactive or reactive you are. That's me setting the stage. We've never had this conversation before. So I was hanging out with my good friend, JM Wilkie. If you don't know who JM is, she is with Scott Leese. She's, I don't think Scott would disagree. She's really the secret sauce in that organization. She's the one that makes everything rock. JM, she's amazing. Scott, he looks pretty. He wears the hats, which I can't do, but it's JM. JM will come and she will tell us today how everything is proactive and reactive, and you are a byproduct of the decisions you make. She's going to give us some coaching, some advice, and hopefully she's reactive right now and tells me how awesome I am. JM, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yes, you can pull off a hat. You can do it. I believe in you.
Oh. It's so bad, JM. I was cutting the grass last weekend, and I had the hat on, and so the hat only comes out when I'm cutting the grass. That's it. And my wife happened to be in the house in our screen room. So we at 3 acres of land. So I'm like out a distance from the house going back and forth on the riding lawnmower. And she tells me afterwards, she's like, who's that? Because I was wearing a hat and she's not used to me wearing a hat. And I happened to be I was definitely not wearing work clothes. It was a reactive decision, like, I got to cut the grass. And I was still wearing nice clothes, if you will. She's like, the hat with the clothes, you look good. She was like, I don't know who that guy is cutting the grass, but you look good. So now I just proactively decide to wear a hat everywhere. And hopefully get lucky.
Wear a hat in your nice clothes cutting the grass now moving forward.
Exactly. It's a whole formula. Talk to me a little bit about the topic. This is something, and folks, often when I go to my guests, sometimes I go to them because I've seen them say something and I'm like, I want you on the show talking about this. Other times I know that they're amazing. Now, Scott and JM are working with us here at Agorapulse. So I've had a chance to get to know them really, really well. We've had Scott on the show before, first time for JM. And I said, what do you want to talk about? And she was the one who said this. Now I understand JM talks to tons of salespeople every single day. So I want to hear the backstory on why this was near and dear to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of science to it. It's just that I've learned both from myself when I was an AE, when I was in ops, and then from talking and working with so many salespeople over the years, that if you're not proactive about taking care of the little things, taking care of the basics, taking care of, making sure that you're doing the things that the other person might not be doing. That's the sales rep at the competitor that's also trying to close who you're talking to. If you're not proactive about really, making sure that you're uncovering all the things with your prospect, and having really clear action plans with them, that it's just not going to close.
All right. So there's a lot of things we can be proactive about. What do you want to touch on first?
I think that a good one would be talking through controlling what you can control, and then building from there.
Cool. Okay. So where do you want to start? Because I got lots of thoughts on this one. Because I've seen too many people who want to control everything, and they have serious issues. And then I've seen other people who voluntarily decide to control nothing and then complain why their world and their life sucks. So talk to me about this.
Yes, you hit that spot on. And a lot of it comes down to being, one, okay with delegation, being okay with you're going to mess up sometimes, right? And being okay with getting all the feedback from people around you and using those resources to really make sure. Sales is a team sport, right? And so what you want to do is make sure that when you're trying to close a deal, that you can go in, you can say, all right, I can control when I call this person. I can control how I present my product to this person. I can control how I'm uncovering the pain. I can control the mutual action plan that I build with them. I can control making sure that I'm getting all the different parties involved that need to be involved, whether it's, a sales engineer, or if it's, getting them in touch with a past customer, or whatever it may be, so that they have the best buyer's journey. The buyer's journey starts so much earlier nowadays. And, I'll never forget kind of reading this book. I don't know. Have you ever read the book about Disney and Disney U? It's called Disney U.
Yes.
It is a phenomenal book. For those that haven't read it, it's not your typical sales book, but for me, it was one of the most impactful books for reading about sales, because it talks about you want to delight people from the beginning to the end, right? And those are the things that you can control. You can control your attitude that you bring. You can control all those different things. You can't control their attitude, but you can control yours and all those different things. And so that is so important as you think about, how we're going to close deals and just what you bring every single day.
So let's flip the opposite. Let's look at the consequential side if I don't do this.
Yeah.
Because when you say you can control, that's a proactive requirement. In other words, I have to proactively adopt a good attitude. I have to proactively, reach out to my prospects. I have to proactively engage the buying committee or address their questions or respond to their objections, which means I may have to proactively do research and I may have to proactively do education. So if I ever get an objection like that, I'm prepared. What happens when I don't? What happens when I react? What are the consequences? What if I'm listening to this right now and I'm a little uncomfortable with the topic? What would some of the symptoms be I'd be experiencing that you're about to share with us that my audience is going to go, oh shit, yeah, she's talking about me.
Yeah. I mean, now let's take a step back for a second, right? There's not a world where you can be 100% proactive. There is an element where parts of your day are going to be reactive. So it's how do you minimize the part of your day that you're having to be reactive? And so some of the things that start to happen when, that reactiveness starts creeping up, let's say it's, 80% of your day, 90% of your day. You ever been the end of the day and you're like, God, that was a tough work day. God,
yeah,
I don't feel like I accomplished anything. Oh, I didn't really move the needle on anything. I feel like I have so much more to do. I can just never handle it. Those are the kinds of things that start happening when we're not in control. You just start losing kind of that element of, I know that I'm moving things forward, as opposed to trying to, boil the ocean there, and not really having to be reactive with everything that's coming at you, as opposed to leaving part of your day and proactively setting aside, calendar time so that you can do those things, right? Otherwise, you're not developing in the same way, right? Like one of the things that you can do instead of, being, an example of like being especially proactive would be, all right, every single day I'm going to, at the very beginning of the day, I'm going to listen to a podcast. I love that Darryl guy. He has the best voice, and I love him talking about his hats and his lawn and his sales stuff. And I want to listen to that every single morning because I want to get better and hear new things and hear new people. Those are the kinds of proactive things that you will do. And then you're going to feel like you're actually growing, you're developing, and that's how you start really enjoying things more too.
It's so funny you mentioned that because as I was listening to you, what was going through my mind was the easiest way to be proactive on so many of these things is with time blocking, which says I'm going to allocate, I'm going to be very intentional about saying, this is a time to do self-education, whether it's a podcast or a blog post or just read a book, read Scott Leese's latest book and learn better, more about, my craft and my discipline. Um, Call blocking about prospecting time, call blocking about following up with clients, exactly, call blocking about being researching my industry and being part of it, call blocking about doing social media, whatever it might be. That's all proactive. The issue comes is I watch many people be proactive, take that they do it, and then they just willingly walk away from it. Like, yeah, you block this time to do some prospecting, but you're really on LinkedIn and there's some great conversations going on. And before you knew it, you just blew an hour on LinkedIn and did zero prospecting. You've got a look on your
Yeah.
face that says, "Oh, I've seen this."
Yeah, I mean,
Talk to me about that, because that's a conscious
it's
decision
true.
to abandon our
I
proactiveness.
mean, I actually not sure it's totally conscious, right? The world we live in now is kind of a world of rabbit holes, right? It is so easy. I've watched my son, he pulls up, I have a 3-year-old son, and he'll look at, YouTube Kids, let's say. And I'm watching him and I'm
Yep.
like, he's looking at, one second he's looking at a kid unwrapping a toy, which that's a whole nother conversation that we can talk about, but he's looking at a kid unwrapping a toy. And then I look, 2 minutes later and he's looking at, a cartoon in Indonesia. And I'm like, how does this happen? It's very easy to go down rabbit holes nowadays. And so just like a sport, right? If it was going back to the part that this is a team sport, right? Sales is a sport. It is not easy to do those little things and to be proactive, right? If it was, then everybody would be a top seller. If it was easy to, everybody knows that, you need to, in order to be healthy, you do diet and exercise, right? But those kinds of things are not easy, right? To be the top athlete, I bet you if I worked out 6 hours a day on certain things, that I could go through and be pretty darn close to being one of those top athletes because I'm setting aside that time and time blocking. But the fact of the matter is, it's not easy. And so making sure that you don't skimp on those basics and that you do that, but giving yourself grace if you do fall away from it, and then having somebody that can check you on it, right? Like if I was working directly with you, Darryl, I would be like, I need you to be my accountability buddy, and you tell me when I'm messing up here and hold me to the fire, right? Set yourself a Slack note that says, hey, did you do this today, right? Hey, did you do that? Set yourself reminders in your calendar, right? How did you do? Do a retro every single week, right? What did I do well? What did I not do well? And then you can make those adjustments.
So one of the things that I will tell you I've learned over the years, folks, is that one of the things you hear me talk about is being self-aware. So I will be proactive. I will do the time blocking, and then I will be the victim of my own stupidity, like I just described, where I get caught up in social media. And then that's where the self-awareness comes in, where I go, oh, this just didn't happen once. This is a recurring tendency I have noticed that I have. I get consumed and I get distracted. And I'm the only one here paying the price because then my pipeline shrinks because I didn't prospect enough. So what I've started to do over the last several years is seek out certain tools that will help me overcome the things that are stopping me from being successful with my proactiveness, right? So for example, that could be as simple as saying, I've got 20 minutes to go on LinkedIn. I'm going to set an alarm on my phone, 20 minutes, go. All right. And there's whole time management tools and techniques out there that'll help you do that. But again, the irony of that is that what I just described is being proactive about your own shortcomings so that you can overcome them. So again, those are conscious decisions. Let's segue for a second. I just mentioned the word pipeline. What are your thoughts about being proactive on pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, what does proactive pipeline management mean, right? What does it look like? And so you can say, all right, so let's take a step over here, right? Pipeline management is, moving your opportunities and your deals from through the pipeline, but it's also in front of that too, from prospecting all the way to deal creation. And so moving things forward is the key there. Right. And so how do you be proactive? You're reviewing your deals every day. I understand there's demos that come about and there's people that want to talk at certain times and there's certain things that you have to do every single day. But if you can set yourself 5 minutes at the end of every single day to go and say, all right, I've reviewed every single deal. I've reviewed every single next step. It's strategic, right? It is something that's actually going to move the needle forward. I know what date it's happening, right? You can use to your point, right? You can use the tools at your disposal, right? You can say, all right, I know that they talked about this. Oh, guess what? When I was doing my reading this morning, I read this article and it was so spot on that I think that they would find it very interesting. And so really just taking those moments to make sure that you are going in there and that no stone is left unturned and that you can actually go and move things forward so that you don't lose things, right? The thing that I see in pipeline management all the time and what I experienced too when I was in sales is you just forget about things or an opportunity goes stale or, oh, I didn't have it multi-threaded. Shoot, I should have done that or something is missed. And so by setting that time every single day, it allows you to make sure that you don't miss any of those things and you can really make sure that you have that whole view and the whole world of every single deal that's in your pipeline.
If I look at my sales leadership days over and over again, and some of the biggest laments I hear from my sales operations people, is that so many reps have invested time in prospecting. They've got the pipeline, but then they are not proactive about moving that pipeline on. And this is the part that always blows me away the most, is that they're not good at reminding themselves, I need to review, I need to see what's changed, I need to continually, proactively seek reasons to engage with them. Like you said, sharing an article. This looked really, relevant to what we're talking about, as well as, making sure that they don't proactively anticipate where they're going to get stopped. They often, I see this over and over again, they assume their champion is going to take them across the finish line. They don't proactive think, oh, maybe there's the economic, or influencer, maybe the CFO, for example, who says there is no budget.
Yeah, who's going to be the negative Nancy?
Exactly. And then, or they understand this, but they let their fear of possibly offending their current people, their champion they're talking to, I don't want to upset them, or I don't want to call them. What if I call the economic decision maker and they say no? Whereas I would rather just not know and hopefully we can cross that bridge later and maybe they won't get involved. As opposed to saying proactively, if I call them and they say no and I realize it's dead, then that gives me more time to chase other deals, as opposed to saying, this one's dead. Now I got time. I will stop working this one. Whereas I could keep on working this one and waste a lot of cycles and it's still going to die.
Yes.
Right. So proactiveness doesn't always mean good news, but there's always a silver lining if you choose to go look for it. But pipeline is huge. That's probably one of the biggest areas I see that reps are not proactive. Even as stupid, I would ask you from your operations experience, as making sure that a forecasted closing date is accurate.
Oh, yeah. It's it's insane, right? Like if I'm if I want to make sure that I know, right? Like I want to be proactive about how much I'm going to make, and I want to make sure I'm going to make a boatload of money. And the only way that I can do that, to your point, right? It might not be the best news. It might be that, hey, guess what, JM? Next month, your pipeline tells you that you are going to make no money. And I would say, okay, what am I going to do? And then I can create proactively a really good plan to get there. And those are the kinds of things. A mutual action plan, right? Once you have a deal that's in motion, is something that can help you really be and work together in that collaboration with the prospect and help you to be proactive together, right? It's not just having to be you, but it's how do you help your prospect be proactive with the people that are on their team, right? So that you're kind of you have this, prospect collaboration and you can be an extension of their team because they are. That's what you want, is to make sure that that's what they feel.
I really liked so I love the mutual action plan because that's just a recipe to continue engaging and to broaden the conversation with all the people who will touch or influence the decision making and the onboarding or even the vendor selection, especially if you're in a competitive cycle. By that mutual action plan, you're just building trust with them, and that alone will differentiate you often 9 times out of 10 for your competition. You actually gonna have a more expensive offering, and they'll choose you because they just trust you more. And it's not always the price; it's about my tolerance for risk. And if I perceive you have your act together more, I will pay more to have less risk. So I love the mutual action plan. But what I really liked beyond that was the simplistic point of view that JM just talked about here about updating your forecasted date, because she said that way I'll know if my pipeline suddenly looks really thin next month, which means I make less money. So too many of you are out there going, I just don't have time to update it. I did it once. It's fine. It's good enough. It's admin. I don't have time for admin. I'm a mover and a shaker. I'm a deal maker. No, it's not admin. It's about you knowing how much money you're going to make and what you need to do to fix that. If your dates are accurate, you have that visibility. It's a totally selfish move. I love it. Okay. Let's talk about resources. This is something that I see a lot of reps completely avoid to their detriment. Talk to me about your thoughts about being proactive with the resources that are available to me.
Yeah. Well, it's hard, right? You get into this world and you mentioned it too, right? Where it's like, hey, I don't want this to go wrong, or I don't want to offend a certain person, right? Put all the ego aside, put all of, worry about anything really aside. If you're making sure that you are coming at it in a way that is, thoughtful, um, then what you can do is you're able to use your resources, right? So many companies nowadays have knowledge bases. They have the playbook that you can see what's worked, what hasn't worked. They have, something that they have the case studies at their disposal, right? They have full teams that are willing. If you're talking to someone, you're like, hey, the person that I'm talking to is actually in marketing, and I want to really understand what a marketer does. Buy someone on your marketing team coffee, right? Understand what makes them tick. Understand the pains that they go through on a day-to-day so that you can better talk to them and better help your prospect, right? By doing those kinds of things, and then not only you being proactive there, but also if you need something done, right? You're the quarterback of the deal. And so, for lack of better words, right? You're the person that is going to go and you can go tell people what to do. Hey, I need this presentation, so can you please go do this? I need this amendment in the contract. This is what they need. So I need to get it by X date so you can plan and execute. And so using those resources and making sure that you're delegating and not trying to do it all. Because if you try to do it all yourself, then it's going to take longer to close, and there's no reason to.
One of the biggest things I've heard my RevOps teams say to me over and over again, this is when they vent. This is often something that reps don't hear. Okay, I want you to know this.
Okay.
You do things reactively that causes them to inwardly say, when does your poor ability to plan become my problem? Right. So all of a sudden, I need to go and get you that document. I need to go and get legal to review this thing. I need to go and whatever. I need to go make something because I need to drop everything and hop on a call right now and do a demo with their technical expert because you promised them this, but you didn't talk to me. And I've got other stuff to do. And now it's a big deal and I have to drop everything. The biggest thing I see is resentment builds up. And then those people don't want to help you if they can avoid it. They'll do everything they can to not help you.
Very true.
Because you're just annoying to them. You're annoying to them. But if you're proactive, hey, buddy, I may need to bring you in on a demo next Wednesday because we're still lining this up. The technical experts is coming in and they want to specifically look about, they want to drill down on feature A, B, and C because it's core to their IT infrastructure. Because then that person can say, okay, I need to go make some custom data or a custom demo to show that, or I need to go practice to make sure it works, or practice to make sure I know what I'm talking about. And I'll do that. And if they reschedule, totally cool, because then I'm smarter, I've done the work, and I'm ready for whenever they come, but I'm on it. You're doing yourself a disservice when you're reactive, and you will have all of the resources of the firm given to you when you're proactive consistently.
Very true.
Now, this doesn't just end with sales. With the sales rep role. And I love the example that JM just said. She said, if you don't know about marketing, we need to know, buy them a coffee, talk to a marketer. True story. Big shout out to my friend Chris, big listener on the show. Chris calls me up the other day and texts me and says, dude, we haven't talked in years, but I do listen to your show. I still think you're a moron. Nothing's changed in that front. Can I buy you a drink? And I'm like, sure. So I have no idea what it's for. All I know is he wants to buy me a drink and he wants to pick my brain. So we go there, and Chris is an accomplished sales leader. And he's given me kind of the lay of the land and the company he's been at for several years and what's happened, which is a build up to say, I'm the head of sales, and they're now offered me the head of sales and marketing. And I don't know if I can take on this role. Help me understand, because you've been a CRO, you've done the VP of sales and marketing. What am I getting myself into? Should I take this on? Do I not? What do I need to do? What am I setting myself up for failure? What should, based on my company and my situation that I've described to you and the staffing levels and the budgets I've got, can I be successful? Help me understand. So here's a senior executive being proactive before they made a decision about accepting a job offer, as opposed to just reactive and going, sure, and then setting themselves up for failure because maybe they're just not equipped, right? And then I gave him some feedback, which allowed him then to go on and do additional research and additional due diligence before he made his decision. That's what proactive is all about. Those are resources that are available to you, whether it's revenue ops, whether it's the internal people. It's even the whole buying committee. You can be proactive with that. I love that. Where do you want to go from here, JM? What do you want to talk about next? Anything?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of the points here as we kind of went down the different rabbit holes, right? It's just really remembering to use the resources that are at hand, controlling what you can control, looking at your pipeline, and don't let those little things fall by the wayside, and that you can keep moving things forward. To kind of wrap a nice bow around it, right? It's also making sure that you're asking for feedback, right? Hey, I am proactive about asking for feedback. And then I think to your point as well, it's proactively building those relationships so that you can, do all these things easier, right? I don't want to just get a Slack message when you need something from me. I don't want to just get a Slack message when something went wrong. I'm a human, right? I want to have that connection. And so making sure that when something does go wrong, you go and you can even, sit down, look back and get that feedback. And then that'll help you to then better execute in the future. We're not going to do everything perfect every single time. And so how do you make sure that you can proactively ask for that feedback and then actually execute on that feedback, as opposed to just, hey, I asked for feedback, cool, check the box, right? I asked for the feedback, I internalized it, slept on it, and then I was able to actually do something different the next time that that situation comes up.
All right. For those who don't know, JM's a rock star. You need to follow her on LinkedIn. It's a really cryptic address, right? It's LinkedIn.com/in/JM Wilkie.
I know,
It's
very inventive. Yeah.
WILKE. Very creative. If you're wondering, JM stands for Jean Marie. That is her whole name, Jean Marie. All right, we had this conversation in the green room. It's not Jean. That's not it.
Nope.
It's Jean Marie. Get it right, or call her JM. But regardless, you should call her. She is with Scott Leese Consulting. Now, you've been there, what, 6 months as their VP of Ops? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
So what's the biggest? What do we need to know about Scott Leese that the world doesn't know? Dish on us. Give us the lowdown. What will he be embarrassed or angry on if you share it? Go ahead, do it now. Go.
I don't know. I feel for the guy. He's there right here. I've known him for 12 plus years, worked together off and on. He has a absolutely massive heart, even though he comes off with a hard exterior. And so he's really inside, quite the softy, and knowledgeable about what he does and open to, working with a lot of different people. And that's what I love about being able to work with, so many different clients is you get to talk to so many different people and solve different problems, and, work with people and try to, be extensions of their teams as much as they let you in.
So if I'm listening to this right now, I'm listening to you. How do I know that, what challenges, let's go with that. What challenges might I be experiencing that would make me a good candidate to work with Scott and yourself and the whole crew there?
Yeah. So good question. So some of the challenges that you might be experiencing are, maybe things aren't progressing through the pipeline. Maybe, messaging is falling flat. Maybe, you can't get the insights that you need. That's a huge one, right? Maybe you see that, hey, my reps are spending so much time not doing selling activities, and I want to free up some of their time. Things like that, right? And so how do you, make sure that you can give them time back in their day so that they can be more efficient, they can be happier? How do you make sure that if you're looking at data that it's actually going to be accurate, right? Because that's a mistake that a lot of people make is they look at data and they're like, hey, and I've done it myself, right? Where I look at it and I do the wrong thing, right? I was just talking with you the other day and I sent an article and you're like, hey, don't even think about it, right? This article is old. And I'm like, you're right. That's exactly right. And so making sure that you can look at these things and understand that you're looking at something and you can trust it so that you can then think of new strategies to drive the business.
If you like JM, I do too. She's kind of cool. And I tell you, the crew here at the Agorapulse, who's all work with her, thinks she's pretty special. Follow her on LinkedIn. If you want more information about the crew she works with, just go to scottleaseconsulting.com. And you know what? I think, in fact, folks, you need to be proactive. Go to Scott Leese Consulting and follow JM on LinkedIn right now. Don't be reactive. Don't wait till it's too late. Take control. Own your destiny. And if all else fails, get on a tractor, put on a hat, maybe a hat Scott's worn, put on a podcast, maybe the Inside Sales Show, and proactively make yourself a smarter cat. My name's Darryl. That's JM. We're done here. We'll talk to you next week. Take care, folks. Be good. Boom. That's it. Oh, she's done.
Mine still says 99%.